Singapore now. Not the easiest track to overtake. We have 5 red lights. The lights are off and it's foot to the floor for the drivers. And I think everyone did get a pretty decent getaway. As I believe there were some moves done at the back, but into turn 1, OWLS and Dan going side by side. Dan now has the inside for turn 3. OWLS is going to try and hold it around the outside, but the Williams now will then have the inside as they go into turn 5. And I think OWLS is actually passed as they go into turn 3. So turn 5, sorry. So that is a pretty good start from them. Dan now is going to have to try and burn a little bit to try and get past the Williams, but as you can see there, Dan now having a look down the inside as they go into turn 7 at the start of sector 2. They are going to be side by side. Oh, and Dan's been tapped round there a little bit by the Williams, but I think adequate racing room was just about left, and Dan then had to really step out of it. Pistol has been a bit affected by that as well. They are also being under pressure by their own teammates. As you can see, Melvin trying one down the inside into turn 9 with a slight mistake from failing, having to take some avoiding action, and they are still going to be side by side. Melvin just gets the move done as they go into turn 10, and I think in the background there, I think One Eye probably got the move passed on Dutch as well. Gamer Slimmy though is going down the inside of Dutch Booster, and he goes off track in doing so and will have to concede the position back, although he's still going to try and hold it around the inside. Bit of contact there, and well, Dutch Booster will stay in front, which is what should have happened. But Gamer Slimmy making a bit of contact. Is Gamer Slimmy now going to try and finally get past Dutch Booster as they're going to go side by side, wheel to wheel, as they go into turn 9. And Dutch Booster kind of forced Throne Globe off a little bit there, but Gamer Slimmy finally has now got past Dutch Booster and up into P8. As Demio and Throne Globe are going side by side. I think Demio probably sent one from the back, but they're still going to be side by side as they go into turn 8, and Demio with a lovely move around the outside to get in front of Throne Globe. Demio now up into P10. Oh, and Melvin and Fading going side by side there as we go into turn 9. Very tight. Oh, as Melvin almost pushes Fading into the wall there, but just is able to leave the correct amount of racing room, and Melvin is still going to stay in P4. Right, round 2. Is it going to be Melvin? Is it going to be Failing? Failing is burning, and Failing is going to try and pull to the inside, and they're going to go side by side. Failing is now ahead of the McLaren as they go into turn 7, but I think it might be all said and done as Failing will have the DRS, will be burning his ERS slightly, and I'm sure will be pulling to the inside as they go into the braking zone, and that is Failing back into the P3 for a second or so, but then Dan is able to hold it around the outside with a better traction and will stay in front of the AlphaTauri. Yeah, Melvin not really making up that much time on them, but Failing now dives to the inside of the Mercedes, and Failing is now ahead of the Mercedes. We'll see what happens on this. Game Slimmy going to send one down the inside of the Alpine. Think tap the curb a little bit, probably forced MCFC off a little bit there. Down the inside the Alpine goes, will stay in P7. Game Slimmy then sends one down the inside, so does Demio as well. Demio will then have to back down. But the Alpine now trying to make a re-overtake on the Alfa Romeo as we go into turn 10. And there was a little bit of contact there between the Alpine and the Alfa Romeo. Even more contact. And the Alpine just stays in front. The Alfa Romeo, sorry, is going to be under pressure by the Williams. The Williams and the Red Bull were going side by side a little bit there, though, as we went into turn 10. We were spectating the Alfa Romeo and the Alpine. Gamer Slimmy, I think, probably had a bit of a better exit there than MC initially, but then MC then was able to get the power down. As Gamer Slimmy is going to try and send one down the inside, isn't able to make it stick though. Demio is going to try and make amends of that, but isn't able to out of the exit. But down the straight, does he have the most amount of momentum to get side by side with them? He is, and they're going to be side by side as we go into the chicane. Down into turn 17, and Gamer Slimmy just able to hold position in P8. Wow, what a battle this is between these 4 drivers. And Gamer does have a penalty in this fight as well, but he is going to try and make a move on the Alpine around the outside. Is he going to be passed now on this time around? As he does get pushed off a little bit, but he is going to be able to hold position. The Williams and the Alpine going side by side as they go into turn 8. And are they still going to be side by side into turn 9? No, they aren't. The Williams of Demio is able to make a move into P8, but the Alpine is going to try and make a move as we go into turn 10. But no, they will have to now settle in P9. So the Alfa Romeo and the Williams making their moves, and now it's up to Throne Globe to overtake this Alpine. As we now do see Throne Globe and MCFC going side by side, and the Alpine is going to try and hold it around the inside, but no, Throne Globe is able to get is able to make up a position. It's a bit early for a pit stop though, to be fair. But maybe Failing knows something that we don't, as Failing is going to try and get past the Alpine and does so already on this straight. And Failing is going to be on a mad comeback here. Throne Globe and Failing getting quite close to each other. Failing might try and make a move round the outside into turn 1, easily passed before the braking zone. As you can see there, Pistol now leaving the pit lane and has lost the position to their teammates. So by staying out a lap longer, is going to pay the price, but don't forget he will have a lap fresher tyres than his teammate. So Failing is going to be looking to clear this pack pretty quickly. The Game is Slimmy and Demio are going to be a bit of a wall here to try and keep Failing behind. Failing now is going to try and make a move down the inside of Demio, and round the inside he is. And look at Pistol as well. Pistol is going to try and make the move as well on the Williams. And they're still going to be side by side a little bit, but I am pretty sure with the amount of straight line speed that Pistol has, he is going to be able to clear the Williams as they go into the chicane, still side by side slightly, but then Pistol is then in front. OWLS now has pitted, so it'll be interesting to see where they come out. They're actually exiting the pit lane right now, and they will still be ahead of Failing. Failing is now cleared Gamer Slimmy on the main straight, and now it's a question of how quick will Pistol now be able to clear that Alfa Romeo in front. Maybe into turn 5 as they get the switch back a little bit. But no, are they going to be able to get the latest on the brakes into turn 5? No, they're not. They're going to stay behind. But what are they going to be able to do down the straight? They're on the inside of the Alfa Romeo, going to be burning their ERS and does have DRS as well. But so does the Alfa Romeo. But the Alfa Tauri is already passed and into P5. Like I said, OWLS just has the better tyre advantage and might even be in clean air in a minute as they make the overtake on the Mercedes. And now OWLS can pretty much just run out in front in clean air. And as you can see, that Mercedes is just able to have the better speed. And they're going to go side by side into the chicane. And Dan, sorry, has been half spun there by Throne Globe. I don't know. It looks like that they are racing together, but obviously they're ghosted at times. But I think that's because they're a lap down. But as you can see there, oh, the two HAASes have taken each other out there. Dodge Booster was the worst one out of that one, has ripped their tyre. Cerafire has definitely lost a front wing there, though. What are the two HAASes doing there? Coming close together on the straight. Taking each other out. Safety car. And Demio is going to pit. So is Throne Globe, Gamer Slimmy as well. Para all cutting the line there a little bit. Cerafire retiring from the race. Obviously, I don't like to see teammates crashing, but I don't know if that is a retirement on track or if they crashed. And I'll tell you who it has helped a little bit. Failing can get onto those softs and try and make the move on OWLS, as OWLS is pitting, Failing pitting as well. But when is Melvin going to be able to do it? Obviously, Dan is trying to make his car as wide as possible to try and keep these drivers behind. But I think this is where Melvin is going to spot his chance. He's going to go down the inside of the Mercedes and is already past the Mercedes as we go into turn 14. And I think the Alpine getting very slidey there on the exit. And they might even be under pressure by Throne Globe. Throne Globe is going to try and go down the inside, but then he switches to the other inside now. But Throne Globe is going to be overtaken by Demio. Demio now down the inside and outside, well, outside and inside into the chicane, but then has to stay behind. One Eye going side by side, pushing the Mercedes off track a little bit there, and it's going to make it 4 wide about there. But yeah, One Eye is able to get in front of that battle. Builderholic will then have to, or is going to be battling still with the Red Bull. The Red Bull getting a bit swarmed there. He doesn't really know where to place his car in order to defend against these drivers behind. It is Gamer Slimmy now in front of that pack of 4. Gamer Slimmy is going to try and make a move on the Red Bull as we go on the straight now into turn 7. But Throne Globe is just able to stay ahead, who has now just received a 5-second penalty for cutting and gaining a position. But Dan is actually looking quite pacey now that he has switched on those hards a little bit. He's going to try one down the outside of MCFC. Still going to be side by side. The Alpine holds his line on the inside. but the Mercedes, despite being on the worst tyre, is able to get in front. They're going to go side by side, probably a little bit of wheel banging there, but into the chicane. Who is going to be in front? And it is still going to be side by side, and the Mercedes has been half spun there by the Alpine, and then the Mercedes is then under pressure by the Alfa Romeo, and the Alfa Romeo is able to get in front of the Alfa Romeo. But look at the Mercedes with a switchback as we ride on board, but you can see the Alfa Romeo kind of trying to go put his nose on the outside there, and the Mercedes just is able to stay in front. But what racing that was. And Para and Dan going side by side once again there in the background. Dan having the outside line and the better traction. How has he found that traction on those old mediums compared to the softs? But that is Dan back up into P10. OWLS is going to try everything to try and defend off Failing. Failing is literally there. We're going to ride on board with Failing for this final lap, seeing where Failing is going to be able to make this move. If he is going to be able to make this move, he is 2/10 behind. Obviously, OWLS does have the better DRS on 22%, but he is going to burn all of that on this final lap. If Failing can just be a bit more conserved with his battery, he might be able to make a move on the straight. But as you can see, Failing is just trying to keep with the Williams there as he taps the wall slightly there as they go into turn 11. But Failing is still not really losing much time as we go through turn 13. Failing is trying everything to try and get past this Williams, and as it looks like, it's not really going to be enough. But as we now go through turn 14, and I'm sure Failing is going to burn absolutely everything, but so is OWLS. OWLS isn't actually flashing on his battery yet, so that means now he is flashing. So OWLS is on 10%. Failing has used pretty much all of it. But as we now go round the second to final corner, OWLS is just going to be ahead and is going to come across the line to win the Singapore Grand Prix here in Tier 4 of KRL Round 11. Failing, despite all of that battling, will have to settle in P2. Pistol then will finish in P3 with Melvin just behind in P4. Throne Globe will finish in P5, but with penalties will drop down quite a few positions. So One Eye will take P5, Demio will take P6, Throne Globe still in P7 currently, and I am sure it will still be P7 as Gamer Slimmy crosses the line to take P8. MCFC Nico will finish in P9, Dan will finish in P10, and that is the Alfa Romeo who will finish in P11 of Para. What a race that was. That was absolutely fantastic to see Demio getting driver of the day as well. And I have to say, it is going to be him. Treated us to some absolutely fantastic racing and definitely deserves that driver of the day spot.